Hello everyone, and welcome to another SuncatByte. During today's SuncatByte, we're going to talk about default. Let's make our text bigger here. Default input parameter lists, specifically for functions. All right, so some notes on those. The default input parameter list allows the programmer to declare a function that has a variable number of input parameters. So the programmer is going to supply the default values for the inputs. And then if the function is called, or when the function is called, and values are not passed to it, then the function uses the default value supplied in the prototype. So the prototype may or may not contain the variable name, but the default value has to be supplied. The inputs must be passed in the declaration order when the function is called. The inputs have to be passed in the declaration order. And then, so this implies that starting with the rightmost value, parameters may be omitted. Omitted has one M. Omitted from the call. So some examples. Actually, let's just look at an example. So what this basically, we have this draw lines program. Oops. That is example 4.7. So the draw lines program has a default input parameter list here. Okay, so in the prototype, if you don't do a default input parameter list, you just have the name. It would just have char symbol, the name of the variable, int num symbols, int num of lines. In this case, it has a default input parameter list. So it has a pound for the default for the char symbol, 25 for num of symbols, which is an int, and 1 for num of lines. So when you make the call, you can leave things out, but it has to be from the right to the left, okay? So like here, it has all the parameters, so we're basically overriding what's up there, right? Instead of a %, we use a pound. Instead of 25 here, we use 15. Instead of one line, we use 3. So there's 1, there's 3. If we're going to omit things, it has to be from right to left. So here, we omitted the num of lines. Here, again, we omitted num of lines. We don't have a way to say, I can't say I just want to omit this, the num of symbols. I have to omit from right to left if I'm going to omit. If I don't put anything in, it's just going to take the defaults. So then here we have char symbol equals the %. This has 25. This has this. So what we should get, this function, what it's basically going to do is it's going to come in, and for the number of symbols that we have, it's going to print that many lines with that number of symbol. So for the number of lines we have, it's going to print this many lines, and it's going to print that symbol that many times on that line. So basically it's going to take this symbol, it's going to put this many symbols in a line, and it's going to do this many lines here. Okay, so the outside for loop right there defines the number of lines we're going to print, and this here defines the number of symbols we're going to print on the line. There's the symbol. So when we have draw lines, we should see 25% symbols on one line. Here, this one here should give us 30 of the @ or ampersands in one line, because that's not passed in, so it uses this default of 1. Here we get a pound, or 15 pound symbols right there, and we get 3 lines of them there. Here we should get 6% symbols in one line again, because we don't have any number of lines here. So let's go ahead and build this and see if that's what we get. Start without debugging. Here we go. So here, this is just the case where there's a default. We do get 25% symbols on one line. Here we have that symbols, or ampersand. There's 30 of them, and again on one line, because here that was omitted, so we just used the default input parameter on that. Now here, everything was passed in, so we get exactly what we asked for, right? We get the 15 pounds on 3 lines there. Here, we get the last line, which the very last one has percent symbols. There's 6 of them on one line. And that's it. Then we get no more lines for you here. So remember, we have to omit from left to right. So what if I wanted to do this? And that's it. Think about it for a second. How many of these am I going to get, and how many lines am I going to get? So the only thing that I put in here was that, right? So I'm going to have $signs, and I'm going to get, because I didn't put the other 2 parameters, I should get 25 $signs on one line. Let's see if that's what happens. There we go. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 25. $25 signs, and we only have one line. Remember, you can only omit from right to left when you're looking at this. So that's it. That's default input parameter list. It's actually not something that gets used a lot, but it can be very useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know via the discussion board forum, or by shooting me an email, or by office hours. Till then, take care. Thanks. Bye.